course, this system is not complete yet because it's still got to put a winch plate on top and make some more fish plates around the frame in some places. But it's strong enough to set the axle and leaf springs on top of here, and that's what we're kind of working on here. I think I'll clean these leaf springs up, put some poly bushings in that I got for like 40 bucks, and they're finishing up that. Look at that beautiful diff cover over there. Yeah, and then we'll slide that axle under here and we'll finally get to see what it looks like on its own weight. Alright, we're about to attempt lining this up for the first time.
We're going to try to fit 5 pounds of stuff into a 2-pound box.
Alright. Oh man, I might be too tall with this.
Full of leaf. That is darn tall.
Huh?
That is tall.
It is tall. But that's about.
The axle's gonna have to go so much higher to get tires on it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that these leaves will either flatten out or we can take a leaf out.
You're 13.
It's flattening out pretty good.
Fine.
But you're lifting the whole thing with just one side though.
So it's got as much weight on this on one side as it's going to have, right?
What's half of 35?
17 and a half.
Okay.
So this one, we go like that. We need to fix that other.
Oh yeah, we're gonna push the exhaust.
Where's our exhaust?
So something we didn't really explain in the video, the reason we have 2 pieces of wood on the front and the back of the leaf springs like that is so we could jack the axle up and put all the weight of the front of that vehicle on those leaf springs, and that way we can see how much they're going to flatten out. Basically just where we're going to have to set like the mounts on the rear and the shackles on the front. And we just kind of came together and started brainstorming like all the options that we have as far as how much forward we need to stretch this axle, or how much we have to go up and down with the leaf springs in order to basically determine how much lift that we're going to get, because we didn't want this thing to be super tall like a mud truck. At the same time, if it was too low, then we'd have to drop the rear axle of the thing. And ultimately, I kind of moved the axle to a specific location, which we'll see later in this video.
Flat as that is, what's that going to give us for travel?
Not a whole lot of up travel in the front.
Are we going to get any down travel out of it? As flat as they are?
Maybe. Well, good morning. This axle is from a 1977 Chevy Blazer or, you know, K10, whatever truck. I'm trying to get this to work underneath the front of this 94 Isuzu Amigo. And it won't fit, not because we're not able to attach it to the vehicle, but because it's way too darn tall. We needed actually to go up some degrees, and there's a few ways that we want to try to do that. For one, we could take a leaf out of this pack, and this is a 3-leaf pack. Taking a leaf out of here might make them too flexible and thin and susceptible to bending. But I'm going to spend the day getting this axle attached to that Japanese car. Let's say we set this forward quite a bit, actually. We have room to do that because the steering gearbox is mounted really far forward right here. We just have to figure out how far forward we can get away with, because we've got to contend with fender and stuff up here. it would give an option for bigger tires later if someone wanted to. 104 inches right there. The performance of a vehicle with a 104-inch wheelbase would be really, really good. However, the problem, the sacrifice here, is how this thing looks. It doesn't exactly fit the body. I mean, that would be what it looks like at 104 versus, you know, 98. So if I can get this tire to stay there, I'll have a look at that myself. That looks kind of silly, if you ask me. And no offense to anybody else building their stuff, because it might look better on another car. In fact, the Hillman, that actually looks pretty sweet. That looks a little better. The ratchet straps to the rescue once again. I got the go ahead from Bob and Caleb to go ahead and mount this a little farther forward. What that does for me, allows us to get the right height on these springs, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Let me get these things burned in. A really good tack, because I might have to twist this a little bit. Let's lift this up and see what happens, shall we? We needed 17 inches. We're at 18, which means we have enough room for our shackles up here, which is perfect. That's what I wanted. We got plenty of room to steer this way for sure. And at full pump this side, we're missing everything up here. So, as far as tires go, that's going to be perfect. So I think I've gained a little too much clearance on this side, because this tire is just about hanging, which means my shackles, let's show you that. My original plan for the shackles was to mount them underneath the bumper, but we found out yesterday that that would have mounted this axle way too low on the frame, making the front of the vehicle point upward. By doing it this way, I can mount this right to the middle of the front of this, and it has enough room to swing down. Now originally my thought was to mount it on the bottom of this, and that would put us right at about 100 inches or so, or anywhere from 98 to 100 inches. By mounting the rear leaf spring mounts on the frame where I did, not only mounts it as the frame comes up, making the axle higher up on the frame, but we can now mount the shackle on the front of this bumper lip like an old Wrangler, and still have enough room to, you know, go up and down with all the suspension. So this actually works out pretty good, and honestly, the tire does look better at 98 inches, but at 102, I think what we're sitting at right now, or 104, somewhere between there, this thing is going to perform way better with a little bit longer wheelbase. I look at trucks that are from back east, Tennessee area, and you know, Kentucky and all those other places where people are mudding and wheeling, and they're all giant tires and really long. So having small size tires, which 35s, these end up being around 34 inches, 34 inches and a little bit shorter, is proportionally about the same as all those trucks. Of course, the mud holes and the stumps are going to be the same size, but as far as performance, this setup in my head works on 10th scale for little RC trucks, and it's going to work for this scale. And I'm just it's hot in here. I'm wearing basically a jacket, but I'm just super stoked about this. So I guess next, Next thing I am going to do is take that tire off and work on cleaning up these front shackles and getting them mounted on here. Alright, I made these templates and I'm hoping these are going to be good enough to make some shackle mounts. Parts hot off the arc droid. Time to make some shackle mounts now. So this is gonna go on here, but it has to be outside. And so I made this to bend in. And so this is gonna basically hug this corner. It's gonna allow me to have a straight piece. This one's for the other side, but you get the idea. With that being there, bend this in, weld it all up, weld this cut that I made, and voila, we have some shackle hangers on the cheap. I say on the cheap, but I mean it's a $3,500 machine out there if you include the plasma cutter. But you can't buy that setup from Barnes or Rough Stuff or anybody else. That's something that you have to make. You can buy shackle and leaf spring hangers. You can even buy a whole kit. But you're going to have to modify it to fit a special setup like this. And so if you have like a plasma table or arc droid, or even if you want to cut these out by hand, and you have some 1/4-inch plate laying around, it's a lot cheaper to make it yourself. I've gone ahead and bent one side in like this. This chunk is ready to get on its own weight. Just want to get this thing rolling again. I hope the background isn't too bright for you, but the 3 Amigos BleepinJeep Beast Wars project, fondly named the 4th Amigo, is about to be on its own weight with our Dana 44, and I couldn't be more excited. Oh man! Oh, dude, that is satisfying. I've got this frame extension on the front. Leaf shackles, mounts up front, custom made. The leaf springs out of the rear of a Isuzu Trooper, Isuzu Trooper 2, 1991, I believe. The front axle stretch on this car is crazy. Like, I've blacked out the fender where we're gonna cut it. And honestly, I didn't like it with just the tire sitting there, but with the axle and the leaf springs, oh man, this thing looks awesome. About to measure the wheelbase, and then, but I know the wheelbase is right. I'm gonna guess it's a 102-inch wheelbase. Here's the front. Look at that. A full-size truck axle on a tiny little Isuzu Amigo. Oh man. I'm excited now. That was a big move. I got to finish up this front frame, make a winch mount, make a Fairlane mount, tie in this front piece to the rest of the frame. But no kidding though, this thing is on its own weight. I can roll it forward. I can move it all over the shop now. I can even spin it around because this thing's probably shorter than the Jeep, and the Jeep will spin around in this bay. So this is big news, guys. This is Bob and Caleb. Thanks for letting me kind of take the reins on the creativity on where to put this front axle. As far as camber goes, like, I'll have to measure it, but it looks like it's about 7 degrees. So this thing, if you did drive 60 on the highway, and with the balancing beads in these wheels, would probably 65 down the highway just fine. Do we see Unreal Adventure in the future of this build? You think someone will buy it from under us because it's so cool? I don't know, but it's looking more and more like a Hillman build, to be honest with you. But if I was gonna say, as far as like the construction of this build and the design of this build is a lot like a two-door old school leaf sprung Jeep Wrangler. It's got a very similar engine, 2.6, so the Jeep Wrangler had a 2.5. Leaf springs front and rear that matched. Dana 44 is on this one, but I guess the Wrangler would come with a Dana 30 and a Dana 35. But I don't know. Caleb would know, he's the Jeep whiz. I deserve a Dr. Pepper. I want to jack up an opposite corner of each and see where this thing is flexing, to see how much flex we get out of it right now. Yeah, that's about as far up as that spring can go on that side. Let's see. Here's what it looks like from the front. Flexed out just a little bit, trail truck style. And then you've got this tire in hover mode. Here's what she looks like from the back so far. Not bad. I'd like to see a little bit more flex out of the rear, but my jack is maxed out. What we could do is when we get this all put together, take it to the backyard and flex it out on some of the hills I have back there. My lens is dirty. I need a new lens. Anyways, you could see like this here is plastic, like it can go. We're gonna have to cut very minimal up here, and I think we'll just cut the fender to style it to fit the wheel. Cut and fold that. But the grill comes down to here. Might cut a little bit into that front grill bezel thing. But this leaf spring, as you could see, is like pretty much flat and hitting where I would put a bump stop. In fact, we have metal bump stops already. When we cut the front IFS stuff off here, there was a cast iron nub left, and that's hitting that top plate for these leaf springs. And then the difference is this one kind of pulled down, and we're not even to the front of that frame yet, so maybe I don't need to make some new brackets there. So anyways, that's a much better view of this thing flexed out. So I'm gonna do a live adding an RTI ramp. If you don't have an RTI ramp and you want to know how you would do on it, you can jack up your car or truck like this, measure the distance your rear tire is and the opposite front tire is off the ground, and that would give you your total, so if I'm a foot there and I'm a foot there, I'd probably get up the RTI ramp to about 25 inches off the ground or something like that. Bad at math today. So Bob, Caleb, all the other teams, if you're watching, and everybody who's viewing this to be a spectator, tell me what you think of this, because I am stoked. This thing's cool.